They don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD, Annabelle, and Melissa.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD. As always, I'm with my co-hosts Annabelle and Melissa. And today we are thrilled to have one of our mentors and friends. This guy is a phenomenal person, brings tons of value in every room that he's in, and really has an outstanding business too. And we're going to get into that today. But I would like to introduce you to the one and only Mr. Don Costa. Don, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're doing great, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out to come and talk with us today.
Definitely appreciate being on.
Super excited to have you on. Normally how we like to start is, like JD mentioned, a lot of our listeners are already going to know who you are a little bit, but if you don't mind telling us a little bit about why you started real estate, when you started, and kind of what your business looks like now, we'd love to do that.
Okay, so I started 17 years ago. I've been saying that out loud lately, and it really sinks into how old I am. But 17 years ago, I started door knocking, pre-foreclosures. Real estate was not my first step on my entrepreneurial journey. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'm not somebody that can be confined to a clock. It's funny because, I think those of you who are entrepreneurs out there listening to this know you'll work harder than you ever worked in your life on your own for yourself. And it's okay, but somebody puts you within a clock and it's like you just go stir crazy, right? So I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've had other businesses, some successful, some not. Real estate was just kind of something that I had circled for a while and wanted to do, but wasn't sure about. I think had a lot of hesitation a lot of people have now getting started, just fear of the unknown and what we're capable of. And, it was just something I kind of fell into. So at a certain point and finally got, I guess, the guts to do something with it. So, I'm an entrepreneur. I always say I'm an entrepreneur by nature. Real estate's my widget. I would be doing something entrepreneurial no matter what, even if it wasn't for real estate. Real estate's just something I happen to be really, really good at. And so 17 years later, this is where I'm at.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've been around for quite a while, and you've seen a lot of the changes in the real estate market. Can you talk about a little bit of some of the cycles, because we're experiencing that now?
Yeah, so I went through 2008. It didn't fare well. For anybody who follows me knows my story. I basically lost everything because I was a tool and thought that I was great and everything. So and I had to rebuild my life and my business again after the dust settled from losing everything. So I've been through one market cycle before. Now we run a business, a fairly high volume business. We do rehabbing and wholesaling. Still have a fairly large team. So I've obviously, with the current market conditions and COVID-19, I've made some changes to my organization and my team. This isn't 2008, and I'm sure we'll get more into that in this conversation. There were things in 2008 and then a cycle in 2008 that, I was naive and foolish and thought I could push through and prove the market wrong. And there's a lot of reasons why I ended up losing everything. But when you look back on it, there were a lot of indicators in the market and trends and things you could see going on and reasons why the market was doing some of the things it was doing. Whereas in this particular case, with the whole world shutting down, I don't think any expert out there really, really knows what the overall impact is going to be, because we don't even know what the end of this looks like and when the end of this is going to be. So nobody really knows what the overall impact is going to be and how bad it is or isn't going to be.
So with that being said, could you talk a little bit about how, with what's going on in our climate right now, how you have taken different pivoted the business and taken different paths that you were on before, like with the staff and with how you market and that kind of stuff?
Well, I'm a firm believer in, a saying, you got to take care of yourself first before you take care of anybody else. And I don't necessarily live that in my life because, sometimes I'll put people and family and everything before like my personal health. I think like a lot of us do. But in my business, I really believe it at this point in time. And that part of why I failed in 2008 was because I didn't do some of that. I put projects and certain things before the health of my organization. And so they say on an airplane, put your oxygen mask on first, right? And so, in this particular situation, the second I saw Las Vegas casinos close and Disneyland close, I mean, the second that happened, I was like, okay, what can I cut and how fast can I cut it? I was not going to wait. At that time, I felt like I was like, because we're talking about 2 or 3 weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I kind of made that move, I felt like I was being a sky is falling. And if we all had interacted and had conversations, and I was really, I think, careful in my messaging at the time because I didn't want to necessarily be wrong. But, I told everybody, continue some of the things you're doing, but be smart about what you're doing. Go through your P&Ls, go through your home, go through whatever, and start making some cuts to the things that are not necessities. And let's just play this thing out day by day. And obviously it's progressively gotten worse as the news has come out. And so, some of those things that I did early on have really kind of put me in a good position right now to now make some decisions out of fact and not fear. And so I think that's the changes I made real quick was going through, like, if there's a service that I haven't really used in a long time that's been on been billing me, or that isn't a necessity in my organization, or is more of a luxury, those things were gone almost immediately. I'm not talking about marketing. I'm still marketing, but I went through my marketing. What was something that was experimental? What was something that was not yielding a great return? And I started dialing back or cutting those things, and really kind of focusing my dollars that I'm deploying on the marketing that has always yielded results. One of the impacts that I've seen, and for those of you I know still at the time of recording this, half the country has not gone on a stay-at-home order. One of the things that we saw in our market when we did go on a stay-at-home order is that did impact our marketing for at least that week. As people had to adjust. So if you're not on a stay-at-home order right now and you're listening to this and there's a potential, you're going to want to try to time your marketing somewhere, around that a little differently. You don't want to land on the day they give the stay-at-home order, which is what we did on one of our marketing drops, because your team's freaking out and people are freaking out. But other than that, I wouldn't stop necessarily marketing. So we went through non-essential personnel. Look, there's school of thoughts. Like there's take care of your team because they took care of you. And there's people that are on the other extreme that are just cutting everybody and like throwing them to the wolves. I'm more in the middle, like the essential people to the operation of my business. I'm keeping on for sure, 100%. The people that have had my back through thick and thin, and I know will have my back through thick and thin, I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that they stay on. The people who were a luxury or weren't necessarily people who I knew would ride or die with me, they got laid off pretty much immediately. Since in the evolution of the last couple of weeks is even some of the people that I know that have my back, I've actually went to them and said, you have my back, like for rehabbing, project management. We're not going to rehab within a couple of weeks at the level we were rehabbing. There's no reason for you to be here. You're probably going to make as much or more money on unemployment anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you there right now. Now, why would I do that? Well, because the health of the organization and my financial standing capital wise is important to make sure that I have a place for them to come back to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we're thinking about again, the schools of thought, when you're thinking about, you're looking at your organization and you go, well, I'm obligated to keep these people paid. No, you're obligated to make sure that this business is here 10 years from now so these people can have a job 10 years from now. And if that means right now some sacrifice of cutting their hours or cutting their wages or putting them on unemployment so that your business can be here 10 years from now, then that's what you got to do. And so for me, it was just, It's a realization that we're at war right now. We got to be wartime leaders, and we got to make decisions that, there's going to be some sacrifices. There's going to be some decisions that suck. We're going to have to call on people to do some things in our organization that we may not have wanted to call on them to do. But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to make sure that we're still standing when the dust settles. So.
And Don, you talked about Vegas when that closed. Us being on the opposite coast, we knew we were in trouble when two things happened: Disney World and Waffle House closed. We knew it was bad right then.
Yes, Disney does not close for anybody. Vegas is not close for anybody, and yeah, I agree. That's just, it's the writing on the wall right there that it's time to take some things seriously. And think about, okay, so you want to be a naysayer, and you say, okay, well they closed, they're being overcautious, and this thing is not real, it's a scam, whatever. Okay, fine, whatever you want to believe. If you want to believe in chemtrails or you want to believe that this thing is real, I don't care. But when you stop and quantify the amount of money that's being sucked out of the economy and out of people's pockets that will never, ever, ever, ever return to the economy, that has an impact that we need to take seriously.
Right.
That makes it real. Yeah.
They don't shut down billion-dollar businesses because they think that it may have been, the aliens dropping the virus. Like, that's not what it does. And even if they did think that, the actual real-world impacts of closing down those type of businesses and removing those dollars from the economy, they're going to have an effect whether you believe in conspiracy theory type stuff or not. We're faced with these real-world situations that's driven, and those are really, troubling things, or can be troubling. We like to look at everything with a positive outlook, and just like you said, conserving your resources so that you're there it's a mature decision. You can't base your business life on emotional decisions. That doesn't work anywhere. And by doing that, you're still, one of the things that you teach a lot about, Don, is acting from a position of power and not of weakness. And by retaining that choice, you're acting out of power so that you're going to be there, like you said, 10 years from now. And I think that's great advice. Everybody should take that.
Right. My responsibility right now is not to bleed. It's not to cut my wrist and bleed for my team. It's to make sure that my team has a place to come back to. And that you have to make some hard decisions when it comes to that.
Yeah, I love that.
I do too. And so, Don, that's kind of the way that you're handling a little bit of your marketing stuff. Make sure that you don't drop you don't want it to drop the day after any of the bad news or any of the stay-at-home orders. But a lot of the people in our group have said that, yeah, they noticed that first week, but after people realize that it's not the end of the world, that you're staying at home, well, people get bored and they start looking for more houses, or they start looking to solve their problems, and then they're right back into the same cycle. So if you can get your marketing out there to land, the week after the stay-at-home order, then you're just going to be, maybe there's a little bit of a reduction, but it's not going to be a dead stop.
No, and let's be real. I mean, there's going to be sellers that aren't realizing, like in 2008 and 2009, sellers still thought their house was worth 2005 prices, right? So there's going to be some of re-educating sellers. It's not going to be easy per se, as far as, the numbers are going to line up. And some of us are going to have challenges in our market for, like, well, what ARV should we be operating off of now? You're going to have those challenges. I want to acknowledge those. We're going to have, sellers that may want to, I'm interested in selling, but I want to wait, and see what's going to happen here. I think a lot of us are running into that, but it's still, with that said, it's still important to be there. It's like branding and marketing. You want to get them in your pipeline. You want to get the follow-ups going, the conversations going, because as the dust settles, you want to be the one they're talking to when everybody's ready to kind of pull the trigger and make it happen. So that's why it's important to keep the marketing momentum going. But I also want to say one more thing about that. I have the luxury to spend a little bit of money and not have a return right away. And I was on a call earlier today where, I said this, and I want to say it here too. You got to look at your situation. You got to look at what your market's doing. You got to look at your financial situation. If you don't have money to gamble with right now, then maybe spending money and deploying dollars on marketing isn't the smart thing to do. Don't stop marketing, but maybe your marketing becomes more driving for dollars and going on some free services for skip tracing, networking, we're doing, trolling Craigslist, calling bandit signs, calling agents and letting them know that you're interested in properties maybe falling out of escrow. Look through your MLS and look for opportunities in your MLS. Maybe it's time for you to look at less expensive or cheaper or free methods of your marketing. Don't stop, but at the same time, don't take what the money to pay your rent or to feed your family and put it all on black. Because I know people who will listen to this and they're just getting started, they're barely into it. And so when I say keep your marketing going, that doesn't mean, again, you don't want to cut your wrist and bleed. You want to make sure that you have your household shored up to take advantage of opportunities. So you may have to change the way you're thinking, but you don't want to stop your momentum at all.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice, Don. I wonder if you could talk a little bit, like, because we don't have, so we know that we are in the middle of a market change. It is currently changing right now. Real estate tends to lag a little bit, and it takes longer for those changes to go into effect. But there is no doubt about it, at least in my mind, that we are changing right now. So I'm wondering if you could talk about, right now we know that the market is changing, and probably housing prices is going to get the properties are going to be less expensive. So how are you running your ARVs, or how is your team running their ARVs now, knowing, like, I can go out and pull a comp that says that this house is 180,000 or 240, whatever it is, but I know that that's not what it's going to be in 3 months when our rehab would be done. What are you looking? Is there a standard percentage? How are you making those decisions?
I want to just add this in before I answer that question. In another group I'm part of, somebody used AVV, after virus value.
Okay.
After virus value. Yeah. So I can't steal that. Wasn't me that came up with that, but I thought it was funny. So, yeah. So it's no longer the ARV, it's the AVV. So after virus value. So the call on that is hard. Look, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what real estate's going to do and not do at this point in time. We don't know what lenders and lending institutions are going to do. Right now, hard money's pulling out of things. We have traditional lenders that are running into issues because of people not buying the mortgage-backed securities and all that kind of stuff like that. And we don't know how any of that's going to pan out. So one of the things that I would suggest doing is looking at what your market did in 2008. And how big of a drop it was, and then start kind of looking at how quickly that dropped. Like, was it something, did your market drop in 6 months? Did it drop in a year? And what was that worst case scenario? And then look at, okay, if I got into a project today and it took me X amount of time to either rehab it or get out of it, and kind of line that up with 2008 pricing and momentum in the market, would I be okay? And so that would be kind of how I would determine that number, right? And that's still crystal ball. That's still trying to make an educated guess, because there isn't an answer. I mean, there's a few things that are going to happen. One is we're going to come out of this thing and we're going to go on a real estate run like crazy because there's pent up demand. And who knows, maybe the Fed will do something like they'll start releasing, mortgage restrictions and credit restrictions. Like, in 2003, they dropped interest rates and that fueled the market. And then that started to slow a little bit. And then they released, credit restrictions, and that fueled a little bit. And then it started to slow. And then they started doing stated income loans, and that fueled the market. So we may see them get creative with lending standards and credit standards and different things like that could fuel the real estate market coming out of this. Or it could be a situation where there's just so much fear and anxiety and everything going on that we drop, and we don't know. I have a feeling it's more going to be stagnant or drop personally, but who knows what kind of crazy that government's going to throw out there as opportunities. So the point is prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Look what your market did kind of in worst case scenario in 2008 and try to make your judgment on that. So in my market, we dropped about 25%. I would probably run my ARV right now, assuming I'm going to be out of a project in 4 to 6 months now, because I can't start rehab today, obviously. I'd probably run it about 10%. That's kind of what we're doing right now. But I'm also upping my my ROI. So normally I'd want to have a certain cash on cash return, but we're upping that. We're getting a little bit more aggressive there too. So really, at the end of the day, I'm betting on a 20% downturn in my market. And if I can buy that property and all else fails and we have that downturn, I can at least walk away from that property and be okay. Maybe make a little bit of money. Right. And that's really kind of my psychology behind it. Hopefully that's not didn't go in too big of a spiel on that, but
no, that's perfect, and that's definitely the information that I was looking
Right.
for. And I'm sure that other people who are in the business right now are going to appreciate that too. I'm wondering if you are having to reach out to your private money lenders. I assume that's where all of your money is coming from at this point. Are you having conversations with them? Are they getting worried or scared, or they're, obviously if they're giving you hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest for them, and you're partnering with them, they trust you. So that's not what it is. But what are you seeing from that side of things?
Well, I guess the question is, who's not getting worried or scared, right? I mean, in this climate, who's not concerned? I'm not sleeping. I'll be the first one to say it. Like, I'm literally staring at the ceiling from about 1 a.m. till 5 a.m. just about every night. More so just because I'm nocturnal by nature. My best stuff comes in the middle of the night, and my brain's on overload right now. I think people are highly stressed and worried and concerned. And even if they've been working with you for a number of years, they're going to worry about what the market's going to do. If you have private money and you're not talking to your lenders, you just go walk over to the door and slam your head in the door a few times. You should be talking to your lenders more so. I think overly talking to them and communicating them at this point in time. Let them know what your plan is. Let them know what you're doing. This is what I'm doing to mitigate the risk on this project. These are some of the things we're doing. Maybe we're getting a little bit less aggressive on the rehab and dialing that back so we get it to the finish line on the market sooner. Whatever plan it is that you have, you should be calling your private money lenders and having that conversation, getting engaged on how they feel, what their concerns are, what you can do in your projects to help mitigate those concerns. You absolutely should be having those conversations. You do not want them behind closed doors freaking out, wondering what you're doing. And you do not want them to have to call you to find out. You should absolutely be having a conversation with them.
Yeah, that's super, super valuable advice. So we've had a lot of people, there's, a big name, a hard money lender who knee-jerk reaction changed all of their funding fees. Like in the middle of deals, we were set to close on a deal that we were going to flip, and they bumped our prices from $900 to $4,000. They wanted bigger down payments. They had extra points thrown in there, and it just didn't make the deal at that point profitable. So now we're going back to our buyers list, looking to see if there's anybody, because that deal doesn't make sense. Now, since that initial pushback, they've come back and said, hey, that was a little bit aggressive. Now we're dropping all that in half. But at those numbers, and then with the market concern, that still doesn't work for us as far as a flip goes. So we're pushing that back out to our buyers list, and we're starting to joint venture with some of the other wholesalers who maybe have buyers from different parts of the country that are looking for stuff in Florida. But what does that conversation look like to you or in your organization to the seller, or do you have any recommendations? Because the sellers are obviously worried too, and now we have to say, hey, I told you that we were looking to either wholesale this or flip it, and this was the situation, and we put it under contract for this price. This is where we stand now. What is that conversation, or do you have any recommendations for that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, so, there in any market, there are always going to be deals where you make assumptions when you go into contract, on rehab or different things like that. And, something changes in the transaction, you have to go back and have a conversation with the seller and get a reduction, or something, right? And I think as good stewards of our businesses, we try not to make that a practice. That's more of an exception than the rule. We don't want to run our business on trying to con sellers. We want to run our business as trying to do the best by sellers we can. But it happens, and you have to go back and have that conversation. And, I always feel like you need to be honest about what it is you found, how it affects the deal, and what you need to do in order to mitigate that situation. This is not any different. This is more of an apparent and obvious reason to go back and have that conversation than any, I missed the house needed windows is one conversation. The whole world came to a screeching halt.
It's completely different.
Is a whole different conversation. I think that's a little bit more of an acceptable conversation. So, I would call them back and just say, look, I mean, the AVV, we were running on ARV, and now we're talking about it, after virus value here. And I mean, as you see what's going on in the news, I mean, everything has changed. And I hate to have this conversation on in any other environment, especially this one, but lenders are backing out. They're changing their fees. We're looking at the possibility of, like in California, they've already stopped in the Bay Area. They've already stopped construction. It's going to come down here where we're not going to be allowed to rehab. And so we're looking at, so you just utilize that across the country. They're already making construction non-essential. There's a potential that we close on this property and we have to sit on it for 6 months before we can even start the rehab. We account for that interest. The lenders are changing their fees, and, we have the consideration there could be supply chain issues when it comes to our ability to get materials down the road. And Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, we got to take all those things into consideration. And I hate to have this conversation with you, but really, in order for us to do this deal, it's just got to look a little better.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melissa, can you share a little bit about that conversation that we had with our seller and how that went and what kind of how they reacted to when we were having that conversation?
Yeah, I tried to work it that way. I mean, it's all true. And he was just like, nope, I'll just wait it out. So, every seller's different, but it's all super valid points as to why we needed to renegotiate it. And, like we told them, it's just going to sit if we can't get a better number to be able to move it.
Yeah. And again, that's part of educating sellers to become more realistic, and some of them aren't. And that's, and so one of these situations would be, okay, well, we were supposed to close in 3 weeks. Do you mind if we delay the escrow out 30 days so that we can see where the market's going to land and make sure this is a good deal for everybody? I understand you want to get the most you want to get for your property. And we want to make sure that you get what you want to get. Our business is solving problems, but you also have to understand the risk that we're taking. And if you're not willing to bend on the price, at least bend on the time.
Yeah.
And allow us to, at least, we'll know by the end of April kind of where we stand. And, maybe that's something that they go for. If they don't, just don't let them bully you, I think is what it comes down to. It's better. Look, yeah, I know you've heard the saying before, but it's better to say no to a deal that you could have made money on than say yes to a deal that you're going to lose money on.
Totally agree. Yes.
All day long. And those words never ring more true now. It's just, I've made more money by the stuff I've said no to than I ever have with the stuff I've said yes to. And that's just a fact. And so it's about playing the right hand. It's about protecting your company. It's about protecting your family. And I don't know, some of the smartest people I knew, I remember I was in deals with people back in 2008 and 2009, like developers. Like one of my mentors was like an 80-year-old developer. And, I was in a deal with him and he like killed it. And I just thought, man, that lacks integrity, but it was a smart move. At the time I was all on my high horse. Oh, I'm going to power through this. I'm going to prove the market wrong. And, you lack integrity. And, my business went under and his was still standing. So and people are going to disagree with me on this all day long, but at the end of the day, you got to make sure that your family is taken care of and your business is taken care of so that you can do right by people down the road. And that means that you walk away from something right now that just does not make sense monetarily, or that you just don't have a sure footing on, then so be it. Because you know what? It doesn't matter what people think about you when you can pay your bills. So as long as you're doing it with integrity, I want to say that, with integrity.
With our seller that we were working with, Melissa said, okay, well, we completely understand that. We can send you this contract cancellation. He's like, wait, no. I want you guys to continue to try to do what you do. I just can't afford to lower the price. But if you guys can get it to one of your buyers, then please keep trying. So we're not completely out of the deal yet, but we're definitely concerned with it.
Well, sure. then just see that, and that's the perfect scenario. Then just make sure you let them know that, hey, right now time is not something that is on our not on our side is probably the wrong wording, but time is something that's a necessity for us, I guess is the right wording. You're going to have to give us a little more time than we had originally talked about, just because people are trying to figure out what this is going to look like. And if we can give an opportunity for the dust to settle, it may be a deal that we can still take at the end of the day. or pass on to somebody we typically work with. And as long as that seller's amenable to that, then you just continue to do what you do and try to find ways to make it work.
Right. So you said that your whole entire office is empty, except for you, and everybody's working from home.
Yeah.
What about I guess in our company, we call them acquisitions agents. I'm not sure what you call them, but are you guys, they're not going out belly to belly sales right now. Are you guys still exploring the over the phone closes, or are you still doing that?
We are 100% over the phone. We've been 100% over the phone for almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
So at least the last 6 months we're 100%. So we're still doing over the phone acquisitions. We haven't been belly to belly for a while.
So then that's really no change. I guess it's good that you went there. That there's no change in that aspect. What about your guys working from home? Have you seen a decrease in productivity or an increase in productivity? I know that your KPIs don't lie. So what are you seeing on that aspect?
So there's a decrease in productivity, but I don't think it's because my team, when you look at the team's effort, I don't see a decrease in their effort by any means. I think that this has screwed with their head a little bit. Not going to lie, it's definitely screwed with their head a little bit. And I had a conversation with one of them yesterday. I felt like they were a little bit off their game, but they're going to be off their game. I mean, to them, their world is falling apart right before their eyes. But as far as productivity overall, we're not as productive as we normally are, just because we're having conversations with people in the market that are trying to figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of unknowns right now, there, and then there's fear and anxiety out there. I mean, moving companies are an essential service in California, but had I not looked it up, I wouldn't know if a moving company is an essential service. I mean, the communication's horrible on what is an essential service and what isn't, so can I move if my tenants are in place and I want to sell, can they move and can they find a place? And, if I want to move, can I find a place? And, all that, is going through people's heads right now. And so, yeah, I mean, overall, we're down a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I see Facebook posts and they're like, I just bought 5 houses a day. This is the greatest market ever. I'm like, yeah, I'm not seeing that, dude. But,
us either.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, yes, people are backing out of deals, and yes, we're picking up a few of those, but it's not like gangbusters yet, at least not in California, and maybe in Texas or in Colorado, that might be the case. But that's the other thing to kind of throw out there is, I think listening to this, you may be in agreement with me. You may think I'm nuts in the things I've said. Just wait a couple weeks. So, because it's changing every day.
No, those are all good. Those are all good points. I think valuable input, and you're right. We don't have a crystal ball. None of us know. We're just going to make smart decisions from here on out and do the best we can to take care of our families and our teams.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is so valuable about having these kind of conversations and being in a network with people that are really doing these type of deals and really out there in it, living it, and getting to hear the different perspectives from you in California. We're in Florida. We talked to Hillary and Marco earlier today. They're in Texas. That's one of the great things about the Inner Circle Elite that we experience is we have all these high-level investors from all over the country being able to bring in all of their information into our weekly meetings. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of having a good mastermind or having a good network of people and how that can help us through these kind of situations too?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think people misunderstand masterminds and a lot of them will look at masterminds as, and some of them are hybrids, between coaching programs and masterminds. Some of them look at them as to what can I get? What can I take? And masterminds, I mean, the whole idea behind a mastermind is it's a collective. It's a group of people coming together, sharing the best of each other and, giving and taking and helping each other kind of grow. And the idea behind it's the sum of all is better than the one on their own. Right. And that's where community is important. I think right now, if we were alone, in our own offices trying to figure all this thing out, not knowing, what people are feeling and thinking around the world or the country, it would be a whole different ballgame for all of us. We did our first meeting. I mean, we've had 3 or 4 of them already. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were probably the first group out there that had a meeting. Like I just, I saw some things going on and I was like meeting today. So
that got a feeler, and there was like 18 of us who were like, yes, please, within the first couple of minutes.
Yeah. Because it just that communication and coming together and sharing, I think has really kind of helped us keep our head on. And that's what community is about, especially when people are fighting the same fight, going the same direction. We're getting information in pieces day by day, and some of us are getting different information than others. Finding out that you guys have the ban on the vacation rentals, and stuff like that, and that can be something that rolls out to other areas, allows people to prepare a little better. So it's important, to be able to have that communication and to share that information. And because it's not just, yes, we're sharing ideas, and yes, we're sharing documents, and we're sharing marketing ideas, but it's also like just the fundamentals of, I think who we are as people in our businesses and the struggles we have. And especially right now, being able to come together and say, hey, what are you seeing in your market? What are you seeing in your market? What are you seeing in your market? These are some of the things we're seeing in our market. This is some of the things we're planning for, and being able to just to share that, I think is huge. I think it's important to have that. You guys all help me tremendously. I don't think you guys all realize that, but having that conversation helps me. Having a group to go to that I have to be accountable to helps me too as well. And so us all being accountable to each other, I think is huge.
Yeah,
and to feel safe.
Yeah,
safe to share. That's huge.
Yeah, safe to share and to have those honest, sometimes vulnerable conversations.
Yeah.
Definitely. And obviously we're a huge fan now. We met you, we were at a mastermind in 2018. And we met you there, and you had a shirt that said, "I just got John Martinez." And we're like, what does that mean? And if you haven't heard of him, you need to listen to episode 8 of the Real Estate Jam, because we just had him on. And from there, we just started learning and growing and networking more with you guys. And then last year in 2019, we joined your mastermind. And since then, we've just been able to collaborate with amazing people. Our business has seen growth. Our team has seen growth. Our team has gotten smaller too, but we're learning and growing every day.
Yeah. And it's exciting stuff. And I think that's part of the, just building the right team and everything is huge, building the right community. Hopefully you told John Martinez that the reason why you knew who he was is because I had that shirt on.
I absolutely did. 100%. Yep.
So, but he's actually a good friend of mine. So, I don't know. It's just community is important. I'm not a social butterfly. I'm an introvert. I say that all the time. I know people don't believe me, but and to be able to have these things to go to and be able to collaborate with people that like I said are on the same page, that understand what we're fighting for, that are doing some of the same things and having some of the same interests is huge. It's huge for me, and I just think that we're going to do some great things with this community. My goal is to make sure that we build everybody in that community into whatever powerhouse they want to be, whether that's a huge business or, an average business or, just this or that, whatever it is, whatever your dream is for your business. My goal is to make sure we help everybody there accomplish it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because we definitely need some help some days more than others. But we're taking good steps. And one of the biggest benefits that I see out of it is having other people that understand what you're going through. Maybe it's not the exact same problem, but they understand what it's like to try to manage a family and have a real job on the daytime, and then try to do real estate nights and weekends. And you can, in our group, there's people who started out just like that, who then got rid of their day job and had their business. Now they work 4 hours a week from wherever they want. They can travel wherever they want. They can do whatever they want. And we can see that whole process. We can look at their whole race and realize, that's something that we are going to obtain. Those are people who really did it. They're real people. They're not just these people we see about on the fake reality TV shows that are flipping houses. These are real people that we really have access to, and everybody struggles and everybody has successes. I think that's the most beneficial part of it. And I've been in a lot of different groups, and having at least some barrier to entry really elevates the conversation. And I don't get pitched on nearly as many multi-level marketing campaigns or that kind of stuff in your group as I have been from some of the other groups that I've been a part of. So I appreciate that too.
We better not have been pitched by any multi-level marketing campaigns in my group. Let me know, because but yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the last things that we definitely want to wrap up on is tell us more about the Inner Circle Elite. Tell us where people might apply and where can people find you.
Yeah, so Inner Circle Elite, they can go to beinthisroom.com and apply. It is a community. We're going to be doing some things. In fact, you may have even gotten some of those on Facebook and making some changes in some other groups. We're going to be doing some things. We're going to be rolling out some education stuff. I'm going to be changing my entire business at its core. I've been in the office, doing things in the office for years. It just makes sense at this kind of juncture to do a lot more virtual, and I'm going to be documenting a lot of that, which we'll be putting in, into some of the other stuff that we have going on, which the Inner Circle Elite members will have access to. We'll be having those conversations within the Inner Circle Elite group. So there's going to be a component to, I think, readjusting to this current market that we're going to be documenting. And making sure that every member of the Inner Circle Elite has access to and is willing to collaborate in and help with, and also take from and grow from as well. So we meet 4 times a year. Right now, obviously, we're not, but we meet 4 times a year. I know we're going to have our next meeting is going to be a virtual meeting to make sure that we still get our meeting in. And it's cool. I love everybody in the group right now. I think we have a really good group of people. I want to maintain that. We're not going to get super big. Because I want to be able to make sure that the group is getting what they need out of it. And so if you're interested in being part of a community that I think is becoming more and more of a family as we grow, go to beinthisroom.com and check it out and see if it's something that's a fit for you and we're a fit for, or you're a fit for you and you're a fit for us. Get my words out. And if it is, then we'll go from there. So other than that, I hope we all get to continue to put out this great content and impact lives that way. And you can find me on Flip Talk podcast, the sign behind me here on the video. If you're watching the video, you can email me at don@fliptalk.com, and you can find me on Instagram at The Real Don Costa. I'm all over Facebook, so constantly putting out content, and you can pretty much find me anywhere now.
Awesome. Well, we're so grateful to have you on the show. Thank you for your advice in this ever-evolving time. We appreciate it, and we're so grateful to be a part of the Inner Circle Elite and to have you as a friend and a mentor. So thank you, Don.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm blessed to have you guys in the group, let me tell you. So for sure.
All right. Well, have a great day, Don. We appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you do.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and updates, check out our website, shorefrontrestorations.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Shorefront Restorations. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at info@shorefrontrestorations.com. See you next episode.